and welcome back to Sports the Nemo Way for our episode on Dennis Rodman, who will be defended by Ray, Drew, and Wade. Obviously the other side will be Uncle Doug and I. And let's go over Dennis Rodman real quick so we can kick it to Ray. The 6'7", 210-pound power forward, a 5-time champ, 0-time MVP, 2-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA, playing 14 years in the league after being the 27th pick in the draft, and he is in the Hall of Fame with career averages of 7 points, 13 rebounds, 1 assist on 52% shooting. Ray, take us away, buddy.
Okay. Before I start my argument, I'm going to do a nice little personal high school story back in the day about my first love for Dennis Rodman. So, I'm a big wrestling fan. The 90s were the biggest pinnacle for wrestling. You had Stone Cold, you had The Rock on WWE, and then you had WCW. You had the NWO, you had Hulk Hogan, you had all those guys. I liked Rodman. When Rodman hit NWO, I was like, yeah, Rodman. And then Karl Malone came in, yeah. But I bought the shirt. I bought the Dennis Rodman Rodzilla shirt, and I wore it to gym class in high school. And I wore it to gym class, and then one of my friends, Tim Fretwell, he comes up to me, he goes, what's going on, Rayzilla? And that's kind of was the start of my nickname. And I've kind of been coining that, name ever since. So just let you know, Dennis Rodman's my second favorite player of all time. So start with that one.
Behind who?
Reggie Miller.
I never would have known.
All right. So with that said, let me start my argument here. Now, in order to be an elite player, you have to have an elite company to assist you. This has been a thing since Boston versus Lakers. It hasn't changed in any era. You have to have a team. We are about to talk about Rodman today, and you're thinking, really, all he did was rebound. Well, that's false. Lockdown defender, rebound specialist, these two aspects are major components of the game. And you're like, well, maybe that might be true, but what about scoring? Because you're right, he didn't really score. Unless the cocaine hit him at the right time and he got a little wild hair up his ass and he decided to shoot the ball. But these players are called specialists, and they're a very important aspect to the game too. You have your star, maybe two. Then you try to get players who have a really great skill set, and you have the rest of the stars. Well, Rodman was a specialist. He grabbed real rebounds like nobody's business. He would lock down you defensively, and then he was a defensive specialist. Not every player is good at everything. I mean, look at LeBron. He's a fucking tank, but he can't play the post. You have Paul George. He's a defensive player, but he can only score in streaks. And I'll just name a few. The team aspects works everywhere and translates everywhere. Let's bring up the military. I was in the Marine Corps, and you graduate boot camp. Everyone is now a basic rifleman. That means everyone has the exact same skill set. The later you start to go down, the more training you get, like sniper school or steers training, where you learn to be beat down to your last breath and become a bad motherfucker. I bring up this because the NBA and the Marine Corps kind of have the most you can kind of compare with the most simplistic form. And you have the commander, which is your sergeant, and he's been around for a while, and he's supposed to be, no more than you, and is supposed to be maybe the star of your team and your special spots. Like then you have your special spots like machine gunner, radio operator, corpsman, which is pretty much a doctor. I say all this to bring up attention that you can't have a star without a team. Look at Westbrook, for example. Great stats. Yeah, star material for sure, but he can't work with a team. He doesn't get the team aspect. LeBron gets the team aspect, but he can't pick a team. Then you have Chris Paul, who's a total package who knows all aspects of the game, So I'm trying to say is that these players are elite without the players around them picking up the slack and doing the dirty work, making the star look good. Because you think that Jordan is because do you think Jordan is willing to dive on the floor for a loose ball? No. That's Rodman and Oakley's job. We've talked about this role player in the past, especially my pick with Oakley. But Rodman is in a class of his own with 2 defensive player awards, 8 all defensive teams. You think it's just about scoring, you're dead wrong. Defensive breeds offense, tips, second chance points, steals, all lead to points whether you want to admit it or not. There's even a defensive on offensive end, blockouts, offensive rebounds. That was Rodman. He was all over the place. High intensity, all the time. He loved the game. Sometimes the pressure got to him, but he was always there to step up, whatever it took. And that's why I chose Dennis Rodman for my top 50.
All right, I got one question for you, Ray. Who's higher on your list, Rodman or Oakley?
Oh, who is it? Give me a second, I'll look.
That's my list.
Oh, yeah.
Here's your list. Really like more.
God, who is it? Now, did you say something? You're right.
It's Oakley.
Oakley's higher.
Wow, I'm surprised, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
It's kind of shocking.
All right. So where do all 3 of you have Rodman, real quick?
Oh boy.
I usually go over that in the opening. I didn't this
I have
week.
Rodman at 48. I'm at 41.
Rodman's at 50.
Oh, was your 50th?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we're all within 10.
Yeah.
I'm at 41,
yeah.
48, 50.
All right. Well, thanks for your opening statement there, Ray. Drew, what you got for us?
Dennis Rodman, I don't know what it is. I was telling Dad on the way down here. There's just something about him that I think he deserves to be on my top 50. I don't know what it is.
He's just enticing. He's crazy.
There's something about him. I think he deserves to be on the list for me. He just all the stuff he does. I don't know.
What a great argument, Drew.
I don't know exactly what it is. It's just something. I couldn't.
All
explain it.
right.
I want to make this argument later. Like, he just deserves it, guys. he just deserves it.
I have a feeling that he just needs to be on the list, man. Oh, is that all you got?
It's fucking Notre Dame over here. Like, I had a feeling, guys. Had a feeling.
Oh, that is great. I think that's my favorite Drew take so far.
Yeah.
Dennis Rodman had a feeling once, but that was, a line of cocaine.
he was nuts.
He had a feeling to get married to himself. Well, I guess, Wade, you're up.
That was a terrible setup, Drew. Just terrible. All right. Well, I don't know how to follow this.
Glad he's on your all's team.
Yeah.
You can keep yours
Well,
this week.
I also have a strong feeling he should be on the list. But I'll tell you why. Oh, goodness. That was great. Anyway. This is okay.
Are you gonna say it?
I don't even know what to say anymore.
You just got that feeling.
Yeah. I also have the feeling,
I think you guys might have to pee.
Yeah, maybe.
It's that spider tingle.
Do you think of Dennis Rodman when you pee?
No.
Anyway.
Wow.
I mean, he is crazy. I love Rodman. I think he's nuts, and I love it. He is psycho on the floor and off the floor. But he's probably definitely off the court one of the more weird people we're going to talk about. But on the court, he's a very unique case too. Due to his offensive limitations, I think you have to probably say he's a role player, which most of the time you're not going to have a role player on your top 50 list. But I think he's the greatest role player ever, and he was so good at what the couple things he did do that I think his overall impact on the game was significant. Very, very significant. I think someone like him, kind of like Ray touched on, created lots of extra possessions so other people could score, shut down the other team's best player, messed up the entire team's flow of the offense because not only was he a maniac and messing with the best player, but he could switch. He wasn't limited to just doing guarding guards or forwards. He guarded everybody. He's been known to shut down Shaq, Magic, Bird, Jordan, all those guys. I just think his impact on the game is felt everywhere. You need people like that to win. He won 5 championships, obviously. He played a key part in 2 of the greatest, probably greatest or most famous dynasties or championship teams, whatever you want to say. It gets tricky with him when you start talking about like stats and stuff. Obviously, the rebounds are through the roof. We hit on last episode, even though he was a phenomenal defender, he doesn't get a lot of steals or blocks. But like for an example, we talked off air about this. Alex, I watched the Clippers Mavericks game, with the great Kawhi Leonard, who's also a top 10 small forward of all time.
I did not get the feeling about that one too. I did not get the feeling
Strong
at all about that.
Man,
Alex didn't watch the game, but he said he looked at the box score, and it looked like Luka Doncic dominated everybody. But the best player on the floor was Kawhi Leonard, who made the right plays at the right time, controlled the pace of the game, and shut people down when he needed to shut them down, and his team won pretty handily. I think Rodman has a similar effect on a team. Well, for now, I'll leave that at that. And,
I got one more quick thing to say.
Oh, do you?
do you have another feeling?
Not yet. Well, more about Rodman when Pippen was doing his bullcrap in that last season. Rodman stepped up and helped Michael when he was supposed to. It's not like he sat back and let them lose a bunch of games.
No, he went to Vegas after that. You can't bring
Yeah,
that
but
up.
once but then he came back and he beat them all. It's not like he came back fast.
Yeah.
I would like to go back to the beginning of this podcast. I mean, the whole thing, episode 1, and start from there and see how many times Drew brings up The Last Dance.
I was born in 2003. What do you want?
Yeah. You haven't seen the majority of the players on
No,
that
I
list.
haven't.
So before...
That really opened my eyes to Michael.
Sorry, Drew.
And Dennis, and not really Scotty. He didn't look the
Scotty didn't
greatest.
come off too great in
No.
the last dance.
I will
He's
say,
fine.
though, Scotty didn't come off the greatest, but he could have come off worse.
Yeah.
They left out a bunch of his indiscretions.
He made it well known without him they wouldn't have won 6 championships.
Yeah,
So,
I
even
mean,
Jordan says that.
Jordan gave him a lot of compliments during the thing.
yeah.
They just brought up facts. Like, he refused to go back into a basketball game.
Yeah.
He
And
cussed out Jerry Krause on a bus and was threatening him.
yeah, like,
He
it's
didn't
not
get,
like they made up lies about him.
he
Like,
didn't get his injury fixed until the season started.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Oh, yeah. You guys wanted to enjoy his summer? Was that it?
Yeah.
Scotty.
So before I have Uncle Doug or I go with our arguments, I have a question, and this was not planned before the episode. It just some of the verbiage used by Ray and Wade triggered this for me. Wade called Rodman a role player, Wade did, and Ray called Rodman a specialist.
Yeah.
Those are not usually words we give out fondly.
I
Those are not
know.
words we usually say about somebody, and it's a good thing. Usually those are negatives unless we're talking about he has a niche in this league. He could be a good guy off the bench. He has a good role. He's a specialist. He comes in and plays defense or rebounds or whatever his specialty is. Lou Williams is a specialist off the bench. But so why use those words and then in the same breath say he's top 50?
Because the things that he was good at, he might be the greatest of all time at.
I mean, we can look at Rodman as a defensive specialist, and then we look at Kevin Durant. Now look, hold on, y'all look at me crazy.
We are.
Okay.
I love Kevin Durant. So you gotta watch out here.
Okay. Now he's not as locked down a defender as Dennis Rodman,
Okay, we can go there with you. I got
Okay.
you.
Okay.
He's not.
but he can fucking score in your ass like nobody's business.
True.
He can take you down to the paint, or he can fucking pop a 3 in your eye and just say this is my game.
Okay.
That's the same thing with Dennis Rodman. He can't really score, but he can take a game over defensively and give you 8 to 10 more possessions a game and be like, this is where we're at, and we're going to win this game because I tipped this ball up 8 times and grabbed it and gave it to Michael and shot a 3. He gives you more possessions, gives you more offensive rebounds. Like I said, he plays defense on the offensive end to give you more points. That is why he's on the list, because not every player that's on the top 50 can play defense like that. They can score. They can get you in crunch time and put a crunch point, But what about Rodman? He can get that clutch rebound. Why isn't that more important than a point? It is more important because he grabs that, gives a new possession, he gets that point for you. That's just important as a point in any era of basketball. Anytime.
I like that. That's not bad.
I mean, I want to point out two things. First thing is I don't necessarily agree with you. Second thing is, did you guys hear the passion that he just gave that speech in? And then Wade's talking about him being the greatest of all time at two things. And then I have a feeling.
Yep.
Sorry,
I have a curious question because just to try to see if we can all get on the same page here. We'll take a shot in the dark here.
Okay.
I don't think any of us are going to argue Dennis Rodman was not effective on the offensive end.
No.
Obviously. We all agree to that.
Yep.
Okay.
Now,
he had a taste on the Pistons, but it was a taste.
he averaged like 11 points once.
Yeah.
But, he's not great on offense, obviously.
No.
His effect on the game was rebounding, creating extra possessions, like he said, defensively, taking charges, also creating extra possessions, things of that nature.
Okay.
Offensively was next to nothing. Now, take someone like Steve Nash. Next to nothing on defense, is a liability on defense, but is amazing on offense. He's the opposite of Rodman. He has 2 MVPs, obviously was the shit. Passing and shooting. Made people better on offense, but hurt his team on defense. What makes Nash more valuable than Rodman?
Well, I think you could also make that same argument for Allen Iverson. They just abused him on the defensive end of the floor.
Right.
Yeah, true.
It's just Rodman's just the opposite. It's just different because there's not that many Dennis Rodmans. Like, you don't have that bunch of dominant defensive player.
Yeah.
He's like the only one. But you have all these guys that can score out of the gym, but they can't play defense. But
And I'll say, role players outside of this case, obviously don't belong on a top 50 list, but he's just this weird extreme case where you have this freaky player doing all these crazy things on 2 or 3 different things that made it a huge impact on the game, in my opinion. I mean, and just pure craziness, not even trying to make a big key. He was like Kobe Bryant size and out rebounding 7-footers by like 5 or 6 rebounds a game. That's crazy. That's a cool fact. I mean, just kind of crazy. He was putting up like Bill Russell rebounding numbers as a shooting guard height. That's pretty crazy.
with, like you said before, maybe the most dominant big man era. Arguably.
Yeah, he did it in the 90s against
Yeah.
Olajuwon, Robinson, Barkley, Malone, all those guys. Anyway, you can answer my question if you want.
What makes the difference between him and Steve Nash? Is that
Yeah, like value on the team. That's your opinion.
I mean, I guess the logical answer is you don't, or I guess the first answer is you win by scoring more points than the other team. So I don't agree with his statement earlier of a rebound is as important as a point. I don't agree with that at all.
Well, I think if the rebound leads to an extra possession where someone scores, I think that was that wrong? Is that your point?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's without that rebound, you're not going to get that point. So I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
I that's true. I can't argue against that. And he did average, but that's like a couple times a game. That's not.
I mean, his prime is at 5-6 offensive rebounds a game. That's 5-6 extra possessions, plus
It is.
taking charges, messing up the other team's offensive flow, shutting down the best player, things of that nature. His effect on the game, that's what he was doing.
He was. I mean, he's a defender, rebounder.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay, if we're talking about role players and what leads to winning and all these things, why Rodman and not Robert Horry?
Why? Because Rodman, I think, had a bigger impact on the game than Horry, in my opinion.
But Horry led to more winning.
Horry led to more winning, or he just hit a couple more shots?
Well, I mean, whether he led to it or not, he won more, and he was a role player. Which is what we're talking about, is things that lead to winning. So I was just asking what did Rodman do? I mean, obviously he was a better defender than Horry, or a better rebounder than Horry, but Horry was an offensive superior player to him. So I guess what I'm saying is why one and not the other?
Can I ask a question back, Alex? How much did Robert Horry play in some of those teams?
I don't know. I mean,
he did win championships sitting on the bench and just
So did
playing in
Dennis
the playoffs
Rodman.
sometimes. Just sitting on the bench. He's one of the best players on all 5 teams.
He was a bench player on the first 2 and on the last one.
A bench player. Okay, yeah. Technically, he came off the bench, but if you try to tell me he wasn't playing most of the game, that's kind of foolish.
No, I'm not. I didn't say he didn't play most of the game. I said he was a bench player. He played the first year they won. He played 26 minutes a game. It's not like he was out there, putting up huge minutes.
He's still one of the best players on the team. I mean, Manu Ginobili came off the bench, but he's still the 3rd best player on the Spurs, and they won championships.
True that. True that.
So, Rodman's first 2 titles were with the Pistons, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Right. And so, I mean, if you're looking at the Pistons, I mean, he's going to be below Dumars. He's going to be below Isaiah.
Yeah.
He's going to be below probably Mahorn,
Lambeer,
possibly
Vinny
Lambeer, yeah.
Johnson.
I mean, he's definitely not dominant on the Pistons. Now
He won Defensive Player of the Year there. One. If not both there. Did he win both there or one?
I have no idea when he won his defensive player of the year.
He was 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, but I didn't write down the years.
I have the page pulled up. I just have to get to it. Sorry. Okay. Defensive Player of the Year. So he won Defensive Player of the Years in back-to-back years in Detroit in 89, or no, in 90 and 91.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. As far as Uncle Doug's point, I'm not going to argue Isaiah Thomas and Jody Demars. They're definitely better than Robin overall, obviously. Help fill me in on Lambeer. I know he was a decent player.
Well, I'm not saying Lambeer's better.
Okay,
I was
all right.
just going with Isaiah and Dumars and Mahorn probably.
Oh, Mahorn. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Fill me. I know Mahorn.
'Cause I don't like Lambeer.
I hate Bill Lambeer.
Yeah.
But he
Okay.
he was a decent player.
I mean, I know Mahorn had an impact on the game. He was their probably actual tough guy of the
Yeah.
bad boys.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was a tough guy.
But what, as far as like points and rebounds and stuff, what was? Does anybody know what he was doing?
Mahorn or Lambeer?
Mahorn. Sorry.
Mahorn's career averages are 6 and 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lambeer's career averages are 13 and 9.
Decent.
That's his career averages.
Okay. All right. I was just wondering. I always, I guess, pictured in my head, Rodman is like the third wheel on both of his sets of championship teams. That was my opinion. I guess obviously it's debatable.
So I
But-
guess my question is if he was the third best player on the Pistons teams,
Okay.
why wasn't he starting?
Well, because I mean, back to the Manu thing. Sometimes it's better for someone to come off the bench for the team. That's how it. Some teams do that. Especially
didn't
when
you
you
say
have
in an
limited-
episode not that long ago that Manu was one of the most overrated players of all time?
I did. I don't like Manu. But is he not viewed as the third best player on those championship teams?
Yeah, I believe he is. Yeah.
So I mean, that's just my point of view. What I'm trying to point out.
And we
Okay,
can also look at the recent Oklahoma City Thunder where we had
James Harden.
Harden
James
came off
Harden
the- yeah.
coming off the
Harden
bench.
came off the bench.
I mean, he was probably the third best player on that team.
And he kind of had different. Yeah, no, I'm thinking out loud. Just never mind. But anyway, back to Robin. I just had a feeling. I had a strong feeling,
That's right.
and I'm riding it. Ain't that right?
That's right.
Well,
We're riding it.
This actually kind of feeds into what I was going to do for my opening
Okay.
statement because believe it or not, Uncle Doug and I haven't done that yet.
Wow.
I don't have an opening statement. I have an opening question
Okay.
obviously for the three of you.
Hmm.
What do you have to do defensively and on the boards to make up for getting killed in your matchup scoring wise every night? What constitutes you making that difference up? If I triple or quadruple your scoring output, what are you going to do to make that up on the boards and on the defensive end?
Well, one, I guess it depends on who we're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to vary on who we're talking about specifically. So, like, okay, for an example, let's say for this night, I don't know, we'll throw Larry Bird out there. Who he would guard with when he's with the Pistons in important situations.
Okay.
Obviously, Bird's going to kill him in points. We all know that.
Mhm.
But if Rodman, say he grabs 10 boards, because he wasn't an elite rebounder with the Pistons quite yet. Let's say he grabs 10 boards and he's playing defense and he creates a couple extra possessions with offensive rebounds. He gets a couple charges. There's a couple extra possessions. Still, probably doesn't quite make up for it. But if he limits Larry Bird to, let's say, a handful of points less than what he usually does, that's helping the team. And then if Larry Bird isn't quite able to be Larry Bird, then every other person on the team has to step up and out of their original role and do something that they're not comfortable with, which changes the flow of the entire game, all because one dominant defender messed with the best player, or Rodman, if they needed him to, could go guard McHale or Parrish and be a versatile defender and affect the game in different positions in different ways like that.
Either one of you two want to respond before I go on?
I can throw a Karl Malone example. So, I mean, he could probably he's scoring over Rodman, okay?
Yeah.
But you have 48 minutes in a game.
Mm-hmm.
Rodman will wear you out. You will get wore down by Rodman. And there's going to be a point where you're going to have a streak where you're missing shots. That's what Rodman does. He wears you down.
Although Malone actually, I think, scored quite a bit on Rodman in those finals. At the end, he was exhausted and not paying attention and let Michael Jordan walk right behind him and take the ball.
I mean, he did do that. I will say that I do have the finals numbers in front of me.
I know Malone destroys him.
In the 98 finals, Rodman averaged 3 points and 8 rebounds for the series, while Malone averaged 25 and 10.
Okay.
Sounds Malone-ish.
In 97, Rodman averaged 2 points and 7 rebounds, while Malone averaged 23 and 10.
Okay.
2 and 3.
No,
And
points.
7 and 8.
Oh, the rebound I'm kind of surprised by.
Yeah.
But some of those games where they scored in the 70s, they were very, very low
Yeah, I
amounts
was
of
at that one
possessions.
game. It may have been the second year. It was like 80-something to 40. Like
Yeah.
the Jazz.
They were scoring in the 70s and things of that nature.
I mean, but I think that's even more. If they were scoring in the 70s and he was averaging 25, that means he was scoring a third of the team's points. Why this?
oh, no, Karl Malone abused Rodman. It was a bad matchup. He got Rodman. I'll give you that one.
Karl Malone's a beast, though. Let's just throw
He had
that
the second
down.
most points of all time.
Yeah, let's just throw that on the table. Karl Malone is a beast.
But I mean,
Well, I'll go back to
go ahead.
96, where he averaged 7 points and 14 rebounds, more Rodman-ish,
Yeah.
while Kemp averaged 23 and 10. So I guess he grabbed 4 more rebounds a game than Kemp, but Kemp tripled his offensive output, more than tripled his offensive output.
Even if you give him 2 points for every extra rebound, he's not catching up.
I mean, yeah, that's good comparisons. I'm not taking it away from you.
Yeah.
I also have a couple more head-to-head comparisons. You mind if I go on, Uncle Doug?
Keep going.
In their careers. Oh, I just bashed my computer. Sorry. I looked at power forwards that played a long time at the same time as Rodman. So obviously I'm not talking about Duncan or Garnett or Pettit or Hayes, because obviously
So like Malone and Barkley and stuff.
Malone, Barkley, and Chris Webber are the 3 that played a bunch of games against Dennis Rodman. So Karl Malone's career averages against Dennis Rodman in their career are 27 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists on 53% shooting. While the reverse is 5 points, 11 rebounds, 1 assist on 43% shooting.
Okay.
Charles Barkley's career averages against Dennis Rodman are 23 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists on 53% shooting, while the reverse is 7 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists on 54% shooting. Chris Webber's averages against Rodman are 23 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists on 58% shooting, while the reverse is 4 points, 15 rebounds, 2 assists on 50% shooting.
15 against Weber?
He did average 15 rebounds against
Okay.
Webber.
Interesting.
Barkley tripled his offensive output, more assists even, and out-rebounded him, while Rodman out-rebounded Webber and slightly out-rebounded Malone, while, again, they smashed him on the offensive end, shooting, and they all 3 shot very high percentages against Rodman.
Okay.
Webber's career field goal percentage is 48%. He shot 58% against Dennis Rodman. Um, I'm not saying this is the end-all, be-all of any arguments, but that's kind of damning.
Well, I mean, 3 of the 4 greatest players ever scored on Dennis Rodman. It happens.
But a big chunk of y'all's argument is he made players worse, and that he was going to make up for not scoring by out-rebounding these players, and he wasn't doing that.
Like I said, okay, I mean, I can get anybody on this list and point at bad matchups or bad games, or you can find dirt on anybody. I'm not saying he was perfect against everybody, and there were certain matchups I'm sure his team was at a disadvantage. I'm sure there was. I mean, like, against Carmelo, it sounds like there was a clear disadvantage. But I mean that's how it goes. And later Dennis Rodman was not the defender early Dennis Rodman was. That's also a thing. So some of these games were like against Carmelo. At that point, Rodman is not the all-time great defender in '98 that he is in '90 or '91.
Well, Karl Malone was on the downside of his career too.
He won an MVP that year, didn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, he retired 4 years later?
I
I
took
don't
a year
know
at the
when.
Lakers in
Yeah.
03.
Early 2000s, yeah.
I think he won MVP that year and maybe the next year. I think he won the strike shortened
He
MVP
did.
too.
I believe you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well, I mean, when you're shooting elbow jumpers for 18 years of your career, and Rodman has not seen a ball in a basket since 91. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean,
I don't know. I guess okay. Try to word this unless you have something to say. You can go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, I haven't thrown out my stats that I usually throw out every
okay.
time. I was going to throw that in there,
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. Dennis Rodman was a great defender, and he was a good rebounder. There's no doubt. But we're talking a specialty player in our top 50. Obviously, total points and average points, not top 250. Assists, not top 250, either one. Steals and blocks, not top 250 in either one of those either. And he's a defensive guy. The only thing he's tops in is rebounds. His average is 12th, and his total rebounds is 24th. Okay. Andre Drummond, Wes Unseld, Mel Daniels, Nate Thurman, Jerry Lucas, Dave Cowens, and Walt Bellamy, okay, are all not in our top 50 and all have better rebounding averages than Rodman.
Okay.
Now, there are 4 other guys. I think there's 3 or 4 other guys that are in our top 50 that beat him as well. But those 7 all are not in our top 50, and all I looked at Jerry Lucas kind of threw me off. He averaged 15.6 rebounds and 17 points.
Yeah.
So I just couldn't put Dennis, and I don't have Jerry Lucas in my top 50 either.
I mean,
None of us do.
I get your logic. I mean,
I
understand.
so I just couldn't do it. I mean, I understand the passion and the feeling.
the feeling. And the
No,
feeling.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't understand the feeling. So, so guys, as long as you're done, Uncle Doug.
Yep, go right ahead.
I would like everybody to get their boards out because I'm going to do a Wade type situation here and write down some things for me.
all right.
With I'm going to do a blind comparison. I'm not going to tell you who the other guy is.
Okay.
So you can put
I like that.
you
Yeah,
can
good
put player A and player B.
All right. Well, is player A Rodman?
I'm not telling you which one's which yet.
Okay. I like this scientific method. Yeah.
All right. So player A's career rebounding number is 13.7,
Okay.
while player B is 13.1.
Okay.
Their career assist numbers for player A is 1.4.
Okay.
And player B is 1.8.
Passing motherfuckers.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to win the assist
No.
numbers. Player A's steals per game are 1.4, while player B's are 0.7.
Ooh.
Player A's blocks are 1.5, while player B's are 0.6. Their career field goal percentages. Player A is 53.8, while player B is 52.1. Now, if you haven't figured out which one Rodman is yet, which I'm sure some of you have, I'll give you the dead giveaway here. Player A's points per game are 14.5.
Sounds like Rodman to me. No, I'm just trying.
And player B is 7.3.
Okay.
Does anybody have a guess on who player A is and who player B? Well, player B is Dennis Rodman, and for those of you that haven't figured it out. Does anybody have a guess on who player A is?
Ooh.
And I'll let you know, he's not on anybody's list.
I feel like I should know who it is, though.
Give me an era.
He plays now.
Now, okay. Is it
Yeah.
Drummond?
It's Andre Drummond.
Drummond. Yeah.
Okay.
A guy that is a punchline in today's NBA.
Yep.
A lot of big men would be punchline in today's NBA.
Andre Drummond also didn't just play the whole game, basically, the other night.
I don't think he got a minute
No, yeah,
the other night.
They didn't want him on the floor.
Oh, Lakers.
Which
Yeah.
I believe but I'm going to go off on a tangent here. That was a complete and total utter mistake.
Yeah, I don't know why they did it.
Yeah.
It
I'm not
was off.
supporting it, I'm just saying.
I mean, we're talking about, Wade was talking about defensive liabilities earlier. That is Montrezl Harrell. Montrezl Harrell is a huge defensive
That's
liability.
why the Clippers lost last year to the Nuggets, because Harrell guarded Jokic, and they came back down 1-3 because Jokic destroyed them.
Well,
for 4.
Harold barely played the other night, too.
And then, I like Marc Gasol. I like Marc Gasol a lot. But he can't move his feet, and they kept putting him in the pick and roll.
Yeah, he finally looks old.
Yes, he does.
He looked way old.
And Andre Drummond, although was not playing fantastic, was outplaying all of them. And whenever Ayton came out of the game, he was dominating whoever they put in, whether it was Frank Kaminsky, whether it was Dario Saric. He was getting a bunch of offensive rebounds. He was getting a bunch of tip back or put back dunks. Like, those are the types of things you need. That was I thought was the mismatch when the series started, was whoever Ayton guards, the other big for LA will dominate. So if Ayton guards Drummond, Saric can't keep Drummond off the boards. So he'll get a bunch of offensive rebounds and dunks. Or vice versa. If they put Ayton on Drummond to keep him off the boards, Anthony Davis will dominate. And I think Vogel just came across very desperate in that last game. He was trying anything and everything to make something work, and it
just didn't.
Well, that and
No.
the Suns
Yeah.
also shot ridiculous from 3. And
Sometimes NBA coaches seem to ignore the logical thing to do.
Well, Vogel's not a good coach.
Well, here's the thing. Vogel's a guy that should be a defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Yeah, those Pacers teams were great on defense.
So was when he was in Orlando, we were good in defense. The Lakers were like the number 2 defensive team in the league this year.
Yeah,
They're
he
very
improved
good
their
on
defense
defensive end.
tremendously.
Yeah, he's not creative on the offensive end.
Right.
But here's the thing. You can't be creative offensive coach with LeBron James. It's give the ball to LeBron and he does whatever he wants, or he gets you fired. That's what offense with LeBron is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you looked at the Pacers teams that he coached, we had Hibbert, David West, George Hill, Paul George, and then
Lance Stevenson.
Lance Stevenson switched around with Hansborough. Now, we played 90s basketball, and there's not any creativity to that.
Yeah.
You shoot a jumper, pass it to Hibbert. Shoot a jumper, pass it to Hibbert. So
Do a pick and pop with David West every once in a while.
pick and pop at the elbow with David West. And that's all you got. So there's not a whole lot of going on there.
They actually used to give LeBron fits in the middle. When he was on the Heat, those Pacer teams,
Yeah.
Hibbert and West gave him a lot of trouble in the middle.
Because West is so stinking physical, and we all know LeBron doesn't like being touched. And Hibbert was so big and so long, when he went vertical, LeBron struggled to finish over him.
And
Yeah.
Paul George was, as much as we make fun of him on here, is a good defender.
Yeah.
He is a
And
good
could stay in
defender.
I
front of
loved
LeBron.
him on the Pacers, but he couldn't score with the fuck.
Well,
It
he
pissed
could-
me off.
He could score, but he wasn't.
It was streaky.
Yeah,
And it was so streaky it killed me.
He's that.
He's still
well,
streaky.
Well, he is, but he's so much better as a number 2. He's not the guy I want to give the ball to at the end of a game and say, "Go get me a bucket to win this playoff
Right.
game."
no, he's going to pass it to the rookie.
Yeah. Shout out Terrence Mann. All right. So anyway, back to Andre Drummond. We talked. I just gave you that blind comparison on Andre Drummond. But I just wanted to top it off with a couple of other things.
Now comes the whipped cream and cherry.
I know we've talked about rebound percentage before, and there's a couple power forwards on our list that Dennis Rodman has a higher offensive rebound percentage than they have total rebound percentage, which is kind of embarrassing. But Andre Drummond has higher rebound percentage than Dennis Rodman. Andre Drummond actually has the highest rebound percentage in the history of basketball, which surprised the holy shit out of me, by the way.
Yeah.
So, and he's already, passed him in totals in most areas. He has not passed him in total rebounds yet, but of course he's, 300 games behind so far. So, no, I'm not making this comparison to say Drummond should be on somebody's list or that, Drummond should enter the conversation. I'm kind of saying the opposite, that if Drummond is able to do the rebounding, he's not as good a defender as Dennis Rodman. I'm not trying to say he is, but he does do things on the defensive end of the floor that Rodman doesn't do, like protect the rim, block shots, and put out twice the offensive output. How does that look?
My first thoughts on it are, well, one, Drummond rebounds over 6'6" guys, because there's no centers really in today's NBA most of the time, although he is a very good rebounder. One, he might average 14 points, but he fucking sucks on offense. He's terrible on offense. He makes terrible decisions with the ball. He tries to isolate all the time, which is just atrocious. Yeah, he might average a half a block more, but I don't think he touches Rodman on the defensive end effectively. I don't know. Rodman helped 5 teams win championships. Drummond came off the bench on a team that lost in the first round of the playoffs. I think one's more effective than the other.
Dennis is an impact player. More higher energy. Drummond, he kind of strikes me as a snail player.
A snail. Snail.
Like he's just like,
we got feelings and snails.
just like throw the ball here, I'll stand here, and I'll wait for the ball again, and I'll throw it here. Dennis is all over the court. He's high impact, high energy at all times.
He is very high energy.
He is everywhere the ball is.
Can I go in?
No, go ahead.
No, Uncle Doug was on.
Oh.
I was telling him to go ahead. Oh, well, just out of curiosity, what was Drummond's rebounding percentage?
24 points something.
That's nice. I read a.
I have it sitting here a little bit.
This is go ahead.
24.6.
That's impressive. I read a.
So almost a quarter of the rebounds are his. Essentially.
For a season I just read today. This is one season, obviously. Dennis Rodman, of every rebound available in all the games he played in, got 30% of the rebounds in one season, which is crazy high.
It is. I mean, that's because that's the other thing too, is Wilt and Russell average like 25 rebounds a game, but their rebound percentage isn't
because the possessions were through the roof. People sprinting down court just jacking stuff up.
Wilt could sprint. Let me tell you what. Here's my daily TikTok. I mean, it's a freak. He could sprint up and down. I'll pull the video up for you guys after the episode. But holy moly.
So I was thinking about this, and I was talking about it on air. Should we just start a new segment like Drew's TikToks?
Yeah, I'll find it. I always find a basketball TikTok for every episode. Even in the draft one with the Bengals not winning playoff games since the text message came out. I saw it again the other day. That's crazy. I'm sorry, Bengals fans.
On the TNT broadcast with Barkley and Shaq and those guys, they have Ernie's Nito stat of the day or whatever.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
I remember that.
Drew's TikTok stat of the day.
Hey, if we are, you gotta let me know. I'll find one throughout the week. I'll get us a TikTok.
Get you sponsored by Primo's Pizza or something.
Hey, shout out to Primo's Pizza.
Yeah,
hey,
good pizza.
See if this works. Get a sponsor.
Yeah.
Their pizza's pretty good.
It is.
And their cheddar nuggets. Their
Quite
cheddar
tasty.
nuggets are good.
I live above Primo's, so I smell it all.
Oh.
They did just open up a new building
Yeah,
to the side of them.
the bar. They opened up a bar.
People were like, "The fuck is a Primo's Pizza?"
I get the True Man's Pie. Meat lovers every time.
Me too.
there you
Me
go.
too. I was the
get
True Man's Pie.
I get sausage pizza every time.
Primos is not a sponsor of this podcast in any certain way or form, but we're always looking for new sponsorship.
Like, God, I hate
Let's say
these guys.
if they do want to sponsor us, wait, don't you have an N here, buddy?
Yeah, and I'm also their neighbor, so I can just yell at them from my deck. Sponsor me! Sponsor me!
Oh, fair enough. Anyway, no more Primo's Pizza. Let's talk basketball.
Yeah.
I don't remember what we were talking about though.
Yeah.
Your
Drummond.
TikTok?
We're talking about
My
Drummond and
my
TikTok.
TikTok segment maybe.
Yeah. Yep, TikTok. We'll think about it. We'll think about it. Well, first off, I just want to point out that he averaged one more block, not a half more block. And,
Oh, okay.
And he only came off the bench in one game. He was the starter for the other
I was
five.
just making a smart ass comment.
I just want to make sure we were factually
we can
being correct
backtrack in
here.
time and talk about how he started for teams that won 25 games over the past few years. But that's not the point. But again, like with guys, okay, obviously, yeah, he averaged a block more per game. I mean, Hassan Whiteside would average like 3 blocks per game, but got ran off the floor because he couldn't play defense.
Yeah.
So sometimes stats like that can be deceiving.
And we can look at Miles Turner, who blocked four blocks a game, and then
Okay, so if
Yeah.
we're going to talk about today's NBA, let's talk about today's NBA.
okay,
And I mean,
Can Dennis Rodman play in today's NBA? Because I don't think he can.
I think he'd foul out.
Well,
It's a
pretty fast.
possibility.
Let's just
a
let's
lot
just
of players could foul out.
let's just take the
Yeah.
fouls and the physicality and the technicals and the ejections out of it. He's a big man that doesn't block shots, doesn't rim roll, and doesn't shoot, so they don't play him. There's a lot of big guys that do more impressive things than Dennis Rodman that can't play in today's NBA. I don't think Dennis Rodman can play today. And if he is, he's a guy that comes in for a couple minutes, plays some defense for you, to let somebody get a breather, and comes right back out and he plays 5-10 minutes a game.
I mean, you might be right, but I mean, you got to think about that today's NBA is 5 guys that can shoot a 3-pointer.
Yes, I agree.
Rodman can't do that.
But if you can't shoot the 3, they expect you to block shots and rim run. He doesn't do either one of those things either.
That's true. But can we pull anybody from today's NBA to the 90s, and they're not going to translate either because
well, there's a lot of guys that made our list that we can make the argument wouldn't translate to certain eras. I mean, you're probably right. Dennis, my Uncle Doug said, would probably foul out extremely quickly in today's
Yeah.
NBA. That's probably maybe
It's
it's
not suspended.
I honestly
for
don't
years
know.
After years.
I think young Dennis Rodman might still be a defensive stomper because he was quick and athletic somewhat and still rebound. Older Dennis Rodman probably not
No.
as successful in today's NBA. But I mean, like, there's lots of players that couldn't play today. I mean, most teams don't even use centers. A lot of us, different position obviously, but the past couple episodes we've talked about Bob Cousy being at the bottom of our point guard list. I personally don't think Bob Cousy could play in any other era of basketball besides the one he played in, but he made some lists. That's my personal opinion, obviously, but that's why he's not on my list. So I mean, yeah, and we're talking about today's NBA, which we bag on every chance we get. So saying he can't play today might not. I mean, we don't even like today.
Well, I don't like today, which sounds weird. Hey, I wanted to say this because I was actually listening to the Ryan Russillo podcast the other day, and he was bashing on. He obviously he doesn't know us, so he wasn't bashing on us, but he was in a way, because he was bashing on NBA people that claim to be NBA fans that bash today's game. He's like, either shut the fuck up or stop watching. And it really kind of rung home with me because we constantly bash today's NBA,
Yeah,
but we all watch the NBA.
Yeah.
because we all grew up watching the NBA.
Right.
I mean, we're still sports fans. We can still, and here's my biggest problem with today's NBA. If some teams want to run down and shoot a bunch of threes, I think that's fine if they're good at it. It's when, but not the whole NBA has to do it. It
I
doesn't
agree.
have to be a league-wide trend. Like, and a lot
They
of
don't
people,
all have to be copycats.
yeah, but everyone started copying the Warriors and the Rockets is what happened.
Yep.
And what people don't realize is, yes, the Warriors were great at shooting threes with Steph and Clay and then eventually Durant, but they were also extremely efficient from mid-range, and they were great defensively. It wasn't just about shooting threes. They had multiple great defenders. They were great team defense. Durant's one of the greatest mid-range shooters ever. Steph Curry's very good in the mid-range. They have people that could bang down low like Bogut. Like, and then people saw them shooting the threes because that was the splashy play
Yeah.
that Steph
Splash
would
Brothers.
do.
It's
Yes.
it translated to the kids' mind.
So
All we
everyone's-
want to do is step back threes.
Yeah.
Well, not personally me. I'm
And
more of a
then-
mid-range kind of guy.
And then D'Antoni took his Sun system to another level with Houston and made a run at it. But they had Harden who could run the show and then a bunch of shooters. But now the Charlotte Hornets don't need to shoot 35 threes if they suck at shooting threes. That's the problem.
No, I 100% agree with you. I don't think I disagree with anything you just said there.
Yeah.
People don't remember that those years that the Warriors were making the finals and winning championships, every single year they had a top 5 defense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were.
That's
tremendous.
with Steph Curry being a negative on defense.
Mm-hmm.
That and they had awesome ball movement. They did extra passes.
Yes.
No, they shot a lot of threes, but they were open threes.
That's
they
true.
weren't like up in your face
Because
contested
here's the thing, Curry and Clay are constantly moving.
Right.
They don't sit in the middle of the floor and run the pick and roll
Yeah.
like a lot of the other teams in the league.
And you're not going to leave Kevin
Oh.
Durant.
Well, I mean,
There's a-
once Durant got there, it just became impossible. You just had to pick somebody. Because then it became, I can't leave anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Except maybe
saying?
Draymond.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, good old Draymond.
Then Draymond forgot how to shoot. That's true.
Yeah.
Which is a whole different story for a whole different night. Because Draymond literally shot 38% from 3 and then decided, I don't know how to shoot anymore.
He did have that one really good shooting year.
Yeah.
And before and after, it's not
That
been
was
pretty.
the year they won 72 games.
Yeah.
Or was it 73?
73.
73. Yeah.
73-9.
Yeah, 73 games, and Draymond shoots 38% because it continues to spread the floor. And then all of a sudden he's like, I can't shoot. This year, what did he average, like 3 points a game?
Yeah, no, it was.
He was
bad.
like Ben Wallace or something. Like, it was like, what are you doing, Draymond? And the attempted game-winning shot against Memphis, he missed the rim by a foot.
Wasn't Steph Curry right next to him too? Like he could have. There was one shot he did this. We're not talking about the same shot. He tried to hurry up and heave one up, and like Steph Curry's next to him with his hands out, like give me the ball, and Draymond's like no, and just heaves one up and doesn't touch a thing, just airballs it out of bounds.
This he attacked the rim. I don't remember who was standing there from Memphis. Somebody met him at the rim, and he goes to shoot a floater. Over it was either Valanciunas or Jaren Jackson, one of the shot blockers, and he just like throws it off the backboard really hard and like completely misses the rim, and the game's over. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's like you're like a 5-time All-Star and you just missed a layup by a foot and a half. I don't get it. Anyway, we got off topic again. No, I don't want to make this about today's NBA. The only reason I did was, well, first off, you brought it up because you said Drummond played in today's NBA. And I was like, well, I don't think Rodman can play in today's NBA. But here's another thing. A lot of y'all's argument has been about extra possessions and getting, extra points and rebounds and possessions for your team. What about all the points and possessions he cost his team with all his technicals and ejections? Because literally he's giving free throws to the other team, which is giving points to the other team. He's fifth all time in technical fouls, and the guys that had more technical fouls than him played a boatload more seasons than him. Like Karl Malone's the all-time leader in technical fouls, and he played way, way more games than him.
There's no sheet up there.
Yeah,
Well,
Sheed's up there.
Well, he scored a lot more than Rodman too. So
I missed what
Rodman
you said.
doesn't
I'm sorry.
score.
No.
No,
I mean, the technicals never. How many technicals did he have? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I don't remember. He's fifth all time, but I don't have it written down how many there are.
Yeah.
But I mean, hundreds. I mean, you know, that's literally handing points to the other team and possessions. You get here's the ball and a free throw, so you might be able to turn into 4 points.
I mean, obviously techs are not good, but it's not like he's getting 9 techs a game. I mean, he might get 1 every couple weeks or 2 every couple weeks.
I mean, that's true. I mean, you
I
can
mean,
only
yeah,
get
it's
two
not- it's
two
not
a
good.
game, and then you're gone.
yeah. I mean,
He's also top 10 in ejections.
Yeah,
I mean, and he was also suspended a few times because he headbutted a referee because he kicked the cameraman in the balls.
if we're gonna talk about how crazy he is, you're wasting your time. We already know he's
but I mean,
batshit crazy.
this happened on the court. I don't want to talk about him marrying himself or being friends with Kim Jong-un or anything like that.
Oh my God!
I'm literally talking about things that happened on the basketball
Yeah,
court.
200.
I totally forgot about the Kim Jong-un thing. Oh my God!
Oh, he's nuts.
Oh, Rodman.
Dude, Rodman literally talked him down out of his nukes for the country.
Fucking Rodman. There you go.
That's the feeling.
That's the feeling. That's the feeling.
That's why he
Finally
deserves.
found the feeling.
That's why he deserves to be on the list. He
He
saved
that
our
is the
lives.
feeling.
He saved our nation.
All of our
If
lives.
it wasn't for Dennis Rodman,
Due to
this
Dennis
podcast-
Rodman.
This podcast wouldn't happen without
Alex
Dennis
just made our
Rodman.
case.
Yeah.
Saved all
What-
of our
what-
lives.
No one did anything compared to that.
Yeah. A few technical fouls. He's saved millions. He's fine. He's fine. Put him on the
Michael
list. Yeah. I think we won. Good job, Drew.
Yeah. I told you the feeling. The freaking feeling.
You just had to wait for me to come up with your reason.
Yeah.
55
It
minutes
just
later.
hasn't clicked yet. It'll be fine.
Oh my gosh.
And my final thing is we haven't touched on this yet. Does anybody have his career playoff numbers?
No.
They-
Just tell us.
They're
I mean,
six.
what you told us earlier is probably not good.
They're
worse.
6 points and 10 rebounds.
That's better than the earlier numbers.
I mean, if we haven't figured this out yet, I mean, stat wise, I mean, the man doesn't score fast. We know
No,
that.
and I know,
And then-
but we put points in everything because
Yeah.
that's what we do.
I'm not
but
saying you have to exclude it. I mean, I
That's
understand.
that's not elite rebounding. So are
No.
we saying when he goes up against the actual good players of the NBA, he stops doing that as well?
I don't really know. I mean, in the early part of his career, he wasn't putting up those astronomical numbers. I mean, when he was coming off when he was a sixth man for the Pistons, I mean, he was double-digit rebounds, wasn't he, for first handful of years?
Where are we talking about? I'm sorry. What?
The first part of his career, he wasn't the rebounding machine he became.
His rebounds go 4, 8, 9, 9, and then he has his first big year of 12.
Oh yeah. But so I mean, a lot of those years with the Pistons, he's obviously not rebounding a ton yet. I mean, I'm sure with certain matchups, we talked about this. He probably got abused. I mean, it happens. I mean, I think a lot of what me and Ray have been saying, outside of the feeling,
I've said more than just the feeling.
he has an impact. I personally believe. I mean, some people have impacts that don't show up on stat sheets. It's just kind of how it goes. So we can argue about. I mean, if you don't think that, that's fine. But
We've had that conversation before.
We had that
Oh,
before.
yeah.
People
Yeah.
do have impacts that don't show up on his chassis. I'm not going to deny Rodman's was a hustler, and I mean that as in like he hustled, not.
Right, we know
Yeah,
what you're saying. We're not going there.
I'm not denying the fact that Rodman tried his ass off and worked hard, and I don't know what his numbers are as far as taking charges, but he seems like the type of guy that would take charges.
yeah,
And I'm sure he was in his day. He was probably a good screener. Those are all things that aren't going to show up on a stat sheet that I'm sure he was good at. And we all need those players.
He's a very good role player, but
Mhm.
I don't think a role player's top 50 all time. I mean, that's just bottom line where I made my decision.
I mean, I agree with that sentiment. I don't think role players belong in top 50 of all time. And Rodman is, at the most, he's borderline, not a role player. And I view him more as a role player. I view him as a specialist, like Ray said earlier. And I don't deny his Hall of Fame credibility. But I think I said it in the very first episode we did, that Rodman was a borderline Hall of Famer. So by my admission of that, I don't think he can be top 50 if you're a borderline making the Hall.
I mean that's fine, but we have these elite players on our list that all they do is score, and somehow they're jacked up to this level because they can hit a game-winning shot.
Who do you speak of?
We can go back to Durant.
I mean, Durant does more than score. I'm not a Durant fan. I think Durant's a bitch. But
I like Durant. I'm just putting him on a example level right now.
Well, not only can Durant score, he's probably the greatest scoring forward in the history of basketball.
Okay.
But he's also a guy that averages like 8 rebounds a game, which is nothing to. I mean, it's not 13. Like Rodman, but
I
he's
gotta-
good, and he's averaging like 5 or 6 assists right now. You know,
Yeah.
like in certain seasons, he's also a good defender. Durant's a good player.
I got a better one for you.
Okay.
All right, just for comparison's sake. Close your ears. Reggie Miller,
Reggie Miller, yes. No, I agree.
who wasn't good at anything but shooting the ball. He's a decent defender. Decent
Okay.
defender.
No, I mean, I don't
Is he a
want-
role player?
Well, we got into okay. I'm
about to
very,
walk out.
I'm very no seriously. I'm very very close to saying some things I don't want to say, because first off, we haven't done the Reggie Miller episode, and second off, I've already made a decision about my list that involves Reggie Miller.
He's coming off.
Wow.
And we pretty much touched on it in 2 episodes. We touched on it in the T-Mac episode, and we touched on it in the Vince Carter episode. They do absolutely every single thing better than Reggie Miller, except for one. Like, Uncle Doug's whole argument against T-Mac with Reggie was Reggie shot more threes than him. Reggie's third all-time in threes. But T-Mac does every single other thing better than him. So, he literally is a specialist. So,
Didn't he make everybody's list?
he did. He made all 5 of our lists.
Okay. I understand different position, but
So, yes, I guess I'll just go ahead and say it. At the end of this, Reggie Miller will no longer be on my list.
there you go. Okay.
So-
I mean, it was just
Never
an
mind.
example.
Oh, now I'm curious who you're gonna replace him with, since
No, I can't tell you
That's for the end.
because
Okay.
it's killing.
the person I'm going to replace him with has an episode, and it hasn't happened yet.
He's lying. It's James Harden.
Yep.
It is not.
It's James Harden.
Okay, I got another one.
Okay.
Another one that made a couple lists, but was
James Harden? Oh my God.
he's great. Anyway,
He's really good.
might have pulled his hammy recently. but it's
By the
fine.
way, I just wanted to say this before we get off James Harden. Mark Tyler was furious because James Harden is clearly a top 5 shooting guard of all time.
who?
and-
I'm sorry.
James Harden.
Oh, okay.
And we're crazy. Not only those of us that are crazy for not having him on our list, but you guys have him too low.
Too low?
Too low. At least we put him on our list.
Yeah.
So
Shouldn't be talking smack to us.
he says that
Wow.
George Gervin is clearly, obviously, nobody can argue against it. George Gervin is the 3rd greatest shooting guard of all time, and James Harden is number 5.
Okay, did George Gervin do a lot more than score?
No, he didn't do anything but score. That's why he's not on my list.
Okay. So let's talk about George Gervin. Was he a specialist or a role player? They did one thing. I mean, scoring's the
Do you want my answer? Because I'm one of the guys that left George. I'm the only guy that left George Gervin off.
Well, that's fine. No, I'm fine.
Well,
I mean-
if you're a shooting guard, what are you supposed to do?
If
I
you're
mean,
a power,
seriously.
if you're a power forward, what are you supposed to do?
Defense and rebound.
Yeah.
Also helps if you score.
Ask Paul Malone.
That's what the shooting guards.
Bob
If you want the
Pettit.
team to win, you have to score.
Ask Bob.
That's why Karl Malone is a beast.
Okay. There's something else.
They're
to throw out
trying
there.
so hard to come up with somebody.
I'll come up with multiple players, but we'll do some different situations.
Okay.
Okay, let's go. Dirk Nowitzki, super high on everybody's power forward list.
Yes.
One of the greatest power forwards of all time. No one's gonna argue that. For him to win a championship, he had to get specific players around him, defensive players and rebounders, to win a championship. So if you have Rodman, then you need scorers. He does the defense and the rebounding. What makes Dirk more valuable than Rodman?
Well, first off, he carried his team to a championship.
Oh my God.
Here's the thing, guys. I really get it, but this starts to irritate me.
But Rodman won 5.
No, he didn't win 5. He was on 5 teams that won. That's the big difference.
I tried to say that
Dirk
about
was
Gary
the-
Payton when
Dirk-
you argued with me.
Dirk was the best player on championship team.
No, my-
And we have moved so far in this direction now. Championships don't matter on this podcast.
They don't.
I know. We said he had 5. No one
Yeah.
gives a fuck. Jesus.
Championships matter a ton. Like now, not all championships are created equal,
True that.
but being a bench player like Gary Payton,
Okay. Yeah.
like Dennis Rodman, doesn't equal being the MVP and the best player who carried a team to a championship. That's not the same, and it's not even close.
But you're not answering my question. What makes Dirk more valuable? Yes, he does one thing. Rodman does multiple on his
He
squad.
doesn't just do one thing. Yes, he's not an elite rebounder, but he rebounded the ball.
I've heard you make fun of his rebounding.
Yes. He's not a great rebounder. I
He
just said
doesn't
it.
pass. He doesn't play defense. He's an okay rebounder. He scores. What else is there?
He shoots.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying Rodman's better than
If
Dirk.
Dennis Rodman is the best defensive player in the history of the world and carried a team,
I'm saying
by
everybody
not
needs
letting
a supporting cast
Yes, everybody
around
does need a
you.
supporting
He
cast.
needs scorers. Other players need defenders and rebounders. He's filling multiple voids, while other people fill one void. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying Dirk Nowitzki's better than Rodman.
Well,
I just fucking said it.
Okay,
when we
well,
started this.
we're talking about Dirk
You're not
Nowitzki.
answering any of my question.
Dirk actually averaged 20.7 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 2.4 assists. So he really did do more. Now, he really was known as a scorer. I didn't really realize until I got to look at all this stuff that he did at least had 7.5 rebounds. So that gives him a little more. And I feel like we kind of ignored when you asked about Nash. And so I want to talk a little bit about Nash.
Okay.
You're right. I mean, he wasn't a great defender. He did have 8.5 assists, which is what a point guard wants. But he still put up 14.3 points. Rebounds were like 3 or something, next to nothing.
He's a point guard, though.
Yeah, right. And so I feel like maybe they did a little more on the other stuff than the 7 that Rodman averaged. And again, Rodman is we're talking about the end of our lists.
Yeah.
You know, C-Webb, Anthony Davis are the bottom of my power forwards. And I just felt like the really low points, the less than 10, you know, if Rodman had got it up to 12, 14, I think he definitely would have been up there and probably would have moved up quite a bit.
Okay.
But,
I mean,
you know.
I think I touched on it earlier when one of the points Ray made. I don't think any stat, regardless of what it is equal to points. Points are the most important stat. Teams get out-rebounded all the time and still win basketball games. Teams get out-assisted all the time and still win basketball games. Teams play terrible defense and still win basketball games. Points are the end-all, be-all when it boils down to it. And I think that's why we look at guys like Dirk Nowitzki in a brighter light, even though they may need Tyson Chandlers and Sean Marions and Deshaun Stevens to play defense around them. I mean, that's what he was there for. Right?
No. My point was just the Nash probably does, due to his elite passing and shooting, probably brings more value than what I was overall trying to say about Dirk. My point was just trying to be that Dirk had one specific great skill set, and then you had to build 3 or 4 great defenders around him, 3 or 4 decent rebounders, a rim protector, and a playmaker to make him the best that he could be. And I was just saying it's not that far off from if you had Rodman, who you'd have to have 3 or 4 elite offensive players and a passer. Obviously, you know, they're both power forwards. They're not going to distribute the ball a lot. And a rim protector because he didn't block shots either. So that's I was just saying there are some other great players that had some large deficiencies in lots of areas that needed covered up.
Ironically, I think Rodman and Dirk would have played really well together.
Actually, maybe.
I think they would have, yes. It would have been a great
They would
combo.
have complemented each other quite nicely.
And we can also kind of look at this like a rock group kind of setting. Like you got your drummer, your bass guitar, your lead guitarist, and your front man. And everybody's going to be looking at your front man because that's what he is. He's your front man. But you also can't have a rock group without a drummer, a bassist, and a guitarist. And I think that's been my whole point this whole time. And I guess I just got to break it down like that. Like you got to have these key components on the team or you're not fucking winning a game.
Okay, I think we do this as a society when we argue about things. I'm not, and I don't think Uncle Doug is either, is trying to say the things that Dennis Rodman did are unimportant. I don't want that to come across like I'm trying to say that. The things he did were important. Rebounds are important. Defense obviously is important. He brought things to a team or a game of importance that helped a team win. And I think there are lots of people that do that, today's NBA, past NBA, maybe to lesser or more extents than Dennis Rodman. I think he falls into a falls into a category of guys we've seen through our time. I mean, some of the guys I just named, Tyson Chandler falls into this category. Ben Wallace, we talked about earlier, falls into that category.
Right.
Even guard-wise, guys like Raja Bell or Michael Cooper or something like that are defensive first players. They are bringing things to the game. Some things a little different. Some guys bring shot blocking. Some guys don't. Some guys bring like Michael Cooper brings a jump shot. Some guys don't. Things like that. I think what I'm saying is I just think there are lots and lots of those guys. Rodman may have been a better rebounder than a lot of those guys, or most of those guys, or even all of those guys, or a defender. But I don't like. I feel like we talk about great defenders, like they erased players. Like, I know we talked about it earlier. Like, guys' numbers against him. I don't think any defender ever, I'm not picking on Rodman, I'm not. Any defender ever doesn't do enough on an overall whole basis to warrant being better than a guy that's averaging 20 more points a game than them.
And I can get that. I can understand that. But I mean, second chance points, that's a stat too.
I'm sorry, what is?
Second chance points.
I know where you're going with that.
I and second chance points are a good thing, and it's something that I miss in today's game because nobody stays around to rebound. We were working about transition defense.
Yeah.
But Rodman averages 4 offensive rebounds a game, which is good, really, really, really good. I think it might be a top 5 all-time offensive rebounding rate, but even if they score on every single one of those, which they don't, they score on maybe half of them if they're Michael Jordan, and that's 4 points a game.
I mean, that's true. You got me there.
Well, I mean, as far as like stats and stuff, I mean, he sucks on offense. I'm not going to sit here and be like, no, you're wrong. He's great. No, I mean, yeah, obviously has large issues on the offensive end. But we have had large, I can't, on top of my head, I can think of 4 or 5, but probably more episodes where we've talked about guys that fill up the stat sheet, just put up crazy numbers. But some of us, or one of us, or 4 of us didn't like the person because of things they did off the stat sheet that we didn't like. We've had full episodes about it. For an example, we can pick quite a few, but Russell Westbrook puts up stats that has never been duplicated in the history of the NBA. But not only is he not number 1 point guard on anyone's list, he only made 2 lists because he did things that pissed you off that didn't show up on the stat sheet. So we were just kind of saying Rodman did a lot of stuff that we liked that didn't show up on the stat sheet.
Yeah.
I think that was just the main point. I mean, I think in the long run we're going to disagree on some of it, but I don't think it's too crazy. I mean, I've looked up other lists, and most of them have him either at 10 or like 11 or 12. So it's pretty close.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're all falling. I mean, we're not saying he's not a special rebounder because he was a special rebounder and a great defender.
Yeah.
I just have a hard time getting past the point thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel you.
No, it is.
I
and
can see that. Yeah.
That's really the point I was trying to make earlier when Wade and I got upset was even if Rodman is the greatest defender of all time, defenders can't carry teams.
And that's why Dirk's higher than all of our lists.
No, I know. That's what that was the point I was trying to make earlier was you can ask Dirk to carry a team. You can't ask Dennis Rodman to carry a team.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I can go with that.
We also had a weird thing this whole episode where we compared Rodman to like 3 or 4 of the top 3 or 4 power forwards instead of 9 and 10.
Yeah.
We did that all episode for some reason.
You're welcome.
Well, and I compared him to Barkley and Malone earlier because I was trying to find guys that he played a whole bunch of games against.
That makes sense.
And those are the two guys he played the most games
Yeah.
against that are on the list. I also compared him to Chris Webber because he played a bunch of games against him, and he's at the bottom of some of our lists.
Yeah, he's at the bottom of my list.
I don't.
Well, I mean, Weber's kind of a decent example of what we're talking about. Stat-wise, Weber does compare against the top power forwards as far as stats-wise. But in the episode where Uncle Doug and Drew had Weber,
Yeah.
you listed off a bunch of stuff he did that you didn't like and that
Mhm.
really irritated you, and we came to the conclusion he couldn't carry a team to a championship either. So I'm not saying they're the same player, 'cause they're a lot different players, him and Rodman. But I don't know.
When I say carry a team, I don't necessarily mean to a playoff or to a championship because one solo player, no matter who they are, usually can't carry a team to a championship.
Yeah.
I just mean carry a team in general. I think if you took Dennis Rodman and Charles Oakley and all these great defensive players and put them on one team, they'd lose every game.
Yeah.
As much as hard as it is for me to say this,
Oh God, what are you gonna say?
I agree with you.
Oh. That was.
I'm sorry, Charles. I'm sorry.
Oh God. But that was kind of my point with Dirk. I wasn't trying to say Dirk couldn't carry a team, but you need specific players to fill in his what he can't do, which was almost everything outside of shooting. He's an okay rebounder. But when Rodman, same scenario. You need very specific things to fill what he's really bad at. That was just my only point with Dirk. I wasn't saying he was better than Dirk.
No, I didn't think you were trying to say he was better than Dirk. I understood what you were saying. I guess I just took the wrong route to get there. Where I was going was Dirk can carry a team because he does what carrying a team involves. And I didn't think Rodman could carry a team because the one thing it takes to carry a team he can't do. And no, scoring is not everything, and it's not the end-all, be-all. He's not Reggie Miller, who only shoots and scores and doesn't do anything else.
Poor Ray.
He still went out there and grabbed some rebounds. I know, I'm picking on Ray on purpose.
Red, you can dunk too.
And he can talk trash with the best of them.
That's right.
That is true.
There
He
you
can
go,
do that.
Ray.
He can do that.
Hey,
Nobody likes
there's
Spike Lee.
rice on aisle 9, Starks. Go grab that.
I'm not gonna lie. One of my all-time favorite basketball moments in my childhood is Reggie running down the court with the choke sign. I can see that vividly in my
Oh
head.
man, that is such a great thing. Oh yeah.
I love the
Don't even
whole
know.
Spike Lee game where
Yeah.
he scored all the points in just a little bit of time. Yeah.
Lots of guys have had great interactions with Spike Lee. Like, was it
It's all Spike's
when
fault.
Scottie Pippen dunked on Ewing and then went and told Spike Lee to shut up and sit the fuck down? I was like, all right, Scotty.
I respect Spike Lee's fandom. He's almost like a Cubs fan before.
Oh, yeah.
Like he's stuck around through thick and thin, mainly thin, and a terrible owner, and just a bunch of trash teams. He's had some highlights. Ewing had some
Right.
really good teams, and Melo had some playoff teams and stuff. But he just seriously shut up, sit down.
Yeah.
Like you think you learn your lesson.
You're not helping your team.
Like, yeah, it's like, bro, stop. Like, you should have learned your lesson in the 90s with the stuff we're talking about. He still does it to this day. The other day, Trae Young told him to sit down.
Yeah.
Way to go, Trey. All right, we good?
Yeah.
I think we've got our points across today.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
closing statements for Rodman, and then move on to trivia.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. So, who
You and I go first.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
All right, I'll go. Like I said earlier, I'm just kind of repeating myself. I like Dennis. Dennis was definitely fun to watch. He made every game entertaining. Great defender. He could get under your skin. Tremendous rebounder. He felt like every ball that came off the rim was his. The reason I didn't put him down at the bottom of my list with some of the other guys was just the points being less than double digits just kind of got me.
Yeah, I've said most of what I need to say during this episode. His one side of the floor game bothers me, stuff like that. But I have a closing question.
Ooh.
What? I'm trying to think of how to phrase it. I apologize. Okay, Wade, you have voiced your displeasure with one Draymond Green.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's a strong case to be said that Draymond is very Rodman-esque. He does crazy things. He says crazy things. He's not, marrying himself and saying things like that. But he's very physical. He's dirty sometimes. He's the leader of the defense for championship teams. Now their games aren't exactly alike. Draymond's a really good passer that Rodman doesn't have. He's not quite the rebounder Rodman is. But why your love for Rodman and your dislike for Draymond?
One, I just think Rodman's cool as hell. I mean, everything about him was just awesome. I mean, you marry yourself and then you go fuck Carmen Electra in Las Vegas in the middle of a season. I mean, that's just awesome. I mean, I get where you're coming from as far as like the main defender on a defensive team. That's true. But then, I mean, I don't really find a lot of what Draymond does funny. I thought Rodman was kind of funny and cool.
Yeah.
Draymond, I don't really find that entertaining.
I don't find Draymond funny either.
No. And then outside of that, I mean, Draymond, they both suck at scoring. Draymond, like you said, is a pretty good passer for his position. Rebounding's okay. Rodman was just a rebounding maniac. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I want to say I absolutely hate Draymond, but I mean, I just don't like him near as much as Rodman.
Well, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I just remember we were talking about overrated players in an episode and players that get overrated due to winning. And, you named Manu and Draymond.
I do think Draymond, out of those Warriors players, is the one that's been his legacy has been elevated the most by the Warriors team, in my opinion. Maybe I could be wrong, but in my opinion, yes. I think if he played for the Timberwolves, he'd be just a guy that's losing on the Timberwolves.
A triple single.
Yeah. And he even has some stuff he's pretty decent at, but I mean, even his defense included, I think is overrated. I think he's a pretty good quality team defender. I don't think he's necessarily a great individual defender. Yeah, I don't know. We can get into Draymond some other time.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't make anybody's list, so he won't have an episode.
No,
but
yeah.
I just wanted to ask that you guys can give your statements.
Okay, I'll go.
Cool.
Well, actually, I kind of had a question for you.
Okay.
And Uncle Doug, because some of what I'm going to say is from Uncle Doug a couple episodes ago, so you can stop me if I misinterpreted something. But something caught my attention earlier, and it was a lot of the stuff that was said about Rodman at the beginning of the episode. Uncle Doug said to you about Kevin McHale, but you've been on both sides of the argument now. So I'm kind of curious about some of your opinions about some of it. Such, if you want, I can give you examples so you're not blind in the conversation. For example, Uncle Doug wasn't a big fan of Kevin McHale coming off the bench for a long time, which we brought up with Rodman at the beginning of the episode for a while. We talked about both of them playing on great teams or with other great players, and what was their overall impact on those championship teams while they were coming off the bench or while they were a starter. I had another one, but I lost track of it. Oh, I mean, they both have similar amount of All-NBAs, all defensive teams, stuff like that. So I'm curious. Did Uncle Doug make some progress on Kevin McHale, I don't know.
No.
No.
No, I have that over here, the bench thing, because if I didn't, I apologize, because I do have it on my sheet to point out to Drew.
Oh boy.
So, but I guess the real difference is when he stopped coming off the bench, he put up huge numbers. 26 and 10 on a championship team.
Yeah. We were on the same side in Kim McKinley.
Yeah. So that was my thing. I thought that was important. I mean, I don't think I argued. His first one, his rookie season, he's just a basic role player off the bench. It wasn't anything special at all. So yeah, that's where I came in on that.
Did Rodman become a starter when they started winning championships in Detroit?
No,
Not even for the second one?
I don't
I
think
think
so.
it was starter in San Antonio.
Oh, no, we know that. But
Yeah, but
he became a starter at one point in Detroit. I just don't remember when it was.
he did. He was there for like 4 or 5 years after they stopped winning championships.
Was it really that long?
I'm pretty sure. I haven't read.
Wow.
I have it
Didn't
pulled
he
up here.
become a starter when Mahorn left?
That might have been.
Did
that would have
he
been.
come in when Mahorn left, or did that? Oh, who was the other?
Those
No,
trying to
I
think.
lied. It was only 2 years after they stopped winning championships. He was still there.
2 years, okay. But I could have sworn he was a starter for the second championship.
I can't remember.
Hold on, I have it pulled. He started 77 games in 91.
Okay.
So they win in
So he was
91?
a starter for one
No,
of them.
no, the Bulls won in
The
91.
Bulls
yeah.
won in 90.
Well,
So
what are we talking about?
So yeah, he was a bench player for both years they won championships.
Okay.
89 and
Okay.
90.
So then
He's a
started the
bench player in
next
both.
year?
Yeah, he started the next
Oh,
year.
okay. All right.
I bet maybe Sally started.
I don't
Oh.
remember at this point. I'd have to
I
go back
forgot
and
about
look.
John Sally.
Yeah, they had a bunch of bigs though.
They did.
I mean, Lambeer, Mahorn, Sally, Rodman. I feel like we're even forgetting one. Daughtery, was Daughtery there for a couple years? I don't remember. Who knows?
Yeah.
So,
But
how many minutes was he playing on the championship years? when they-
championship years,
with the Pistons?
26 and 29.
26 and 29. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's still playing quite a bit.
I know you just brought up San Antonio. We didn't even bring up his San Antonio years when he
He's only there for what, 1.5, 2 years?
Yeah, he wasn't
2
there
years.
very long.
He in the middle of the playoffs took his shoes off and refused to go back in the game, where he stopped playing defense and would quit rotating so he could box out his man to get a rebound and all that stuff. We didn't even talk about San Antonio. We skipped right from Detroit to Chicago.
I
And
was only there for
kept rolling.
Yeah, that's
I forgot about San Antonio.
we don't talk about San Antonio.
He was famously given credit for giving David Robinson the scoring title. Obviously, he probably didn't really help him, but he famously told David Robinson, "Don't worry about rebounding, you just score. I'll get your rebounds too," or something like that. And he averaged like 18 boards there, or something crazy. Like that. 17.
His 2 years in San Antonio, he averaged 17.3 and 16.8.
I was close.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty
Didn't
good.
Rodman go
And
to
then-
the Lakers
and then-
there?
That
The
was
very,
at the
very end. Them and the Mavericks, he played like 20 games for at the very end of his career.
Yeah,
Number
he
s-
was- he
number
was-
73.
Did he get kicked out of the NBA or retire?
No, he retired.
I don't think he
think.
retired. I
he
don't
did?
think he got kicked out of the
He got
NBA.
cut, and then I don't think he signed,
Mm.
so he just
Yeah,
retired.
I don't think he got kicked out.
I don't think so.
Yeah, he didn't get kicked
He had a
out.
couple suspensions over the course because he got suspended when he kicked the cameraman in the nuts.
Yeah,
Right.
I
He
thought
got
for some
suspended when
reason-
he headbutted the referee.
yeah.
I just thought something went on there at the very end that he got in trouble for, and I couldn't remember if it factored into him retiring or not.
Yeah, I mean,
Who
it
knows?
could have.
There's
but
too
it-
much
I
shit
don't
with Dennis
know.
Rodman to remember.
honestly, like the other thing with Dennis, and this isn't a positive or a negative as far as like basketball. There's some real scary stuff with Dennis Rodman. Like the Detroit got rid of him because they found him in the parking garage with a loaded shotgun, saying he was going to kill himself.
Well, yeah, that was
Yeah.
they covered that in that Bad Boys documentary. That 30
And-
for 30.
Yeah, and it's like, if that happened today, first off, Detroit might lose their team. Detroit would be crucified for just be like, oh, we'll just get rid of him. Like, we don't want to deal with this.
I mean,
I
yeah,
think he had a fucked up life
he did. If-
long before that.
Have you guys
and-
ever watched the ABC documentary on Rodman? It was based on his book. It was called "As Bad as I Want to Be."
I've heard of the book, but I've never read
Okay,
it or
so
watched the
it was-
show. No.
It was back in the 90s. I was probably like 14 or something, or maybe 16, and I watched it, and it was really good, and it really went through his life, and it was like a whole probably like mini series on his life based on the book, and I mean, he's had a really like confusing life. Like he's really not known where he needed to be at. Like, he's really confused. Like, he probably had this set, like, he needed to be this certain kind of person, but that's not who he wanted to be. And he's probably been kind of confused his whole lifestyle of where he needs to be in his life. And that's probably what set him off, probably in the parking lot type of thing. And, I mean, he just had a really kind of confusing, being in life.
Yeah, I wasn't judging him. I was just saying it was
No,
scary.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, lay some, groundwork
Right.
to where he needs.
And I don't think spending so much time with Madonna helped, because Madonna was going through her own stuff,
Yeah.
and I think the two of them together just got up to mischief, to put it blatantly or
Yeah.
easily, I guess. Anyway, I guess we were. Did we Drew? You need to get yours.
Me and Ray haven't went yet.
Yeah. So I guess we need to go to closing statement. Get back to the closing statements.
Okay. So I've loved Rodman since he's been in the league. I'm a real big wrestling fan. So once he hit wrestling Carl Malone back in the WCW days, hell yeah, loved it. I love that alternative kind of not the regular kind of basketball player, but kind of offbeat, not the normal kind of guy. That's what I like. So Rodman is top tier for me. Big time rebounder, big time defensive guy. My second favorite player of all time is Rodman. So of course he's gonna be on my list, but it doesn't matter in my view how you score the points, as long as the points go in the basket. Rodman was always there to help out. So that's where I'm at with Rodman.
Okay, well,
I want to hear about the feeling.
the feeling's going to be in the closing statement, just like it was in the opening statement. Robin did, I don't know, he's just all over the place. Freaking, I don't even know. It's, like I said, the feeling.
Drew has a crush.
No, I don't. Sorry.
All right, just end the episode how you started it. You had a feeling.
I had a feeling.
Yeah.
And
all right.
he's on my list.
All right, we'll take it.
I'd start singing a couple songs, but I don't need no copyright infringements.
That's true. That's true. We don't need that. All right, guys. Well, I guess that wraps up the Dennis Rodman portion of the episode, and we will move into trivia.
I got a question.
And Drew is apparently ready. Let's go.
Who is the youngest player to score 10,000 points the quickest?
Okay, the quickest or the youngest?
Youngest.
Youngest. Okay.
So who scored 10,000
Youngest
points
scored
at the
10.
youngest age? I got mine.
I got one.
Yep.
Okay. That's him.
Everybody?
Yep, I'm ready.
LeBron.
I also put LeBron.
I said Moses Malone.
I said Kobe Bryant.
Ray is correct. It's Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Oh,
First
really?
point in like
Okay.
8 weeks.
He like
both
did
came out of high
he like
school. LeBron
didn't
was
play
going,
for
like,
like 3
20
years. Yeah, I'm stunned by this.
Shocking. Because LeBron
I got a
put
point.
22, 23 points starting off as a rookie.
Go right.
Yeah, he averaged over 20 his rookie season. Why Kobe sat on the bench for like what 2 years at least?
Yeah, because I know he said a bunch the first year, and then I think he was sixth man of the
He
year.
was like
the
17 when he was drafted, though.
Yeah, he was pretty young.
So
Wow.
maybe there was like a weird age thing there that gave him an extra season boost or something. I don't
Suck
know.
it, LeBron.
I'm shocked by that still.
I am too.
'Cause Kobe
I'm
started off averaging like 8 points a game, and LeBron averaged like 22 in his first year.
Yeah, I'm a little taken back by it myself. I thought LeBron was a very good guess. I didn't guarantee I was gonna get it right, but I was like, oh, that's a really good guess.
Honestly,
And when you said Moses, I was like, oh yeah, that's a good one too.
I thought, yeah, Moses.
because he
took
started
but
off pretty.
Yeah,
pretty young.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go, Drew.
Question.
Was that TikTok?
No, it was not. It was not. Not TikTok.
Who wants to go next?
I'll go.
Okay,
Does anyone know Dennis Rodman's career high in rebounds?
like
Hmm.
per game.
His career high in a game, in one game.
Oh, in a game. Okay.
In one game. What is his career
One
high?
game.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow, that's tough.
Okay.
All right, I got to guess.
I gotta guess.
Okay, I'm ready.
It's a large amount. All right, everybody. I think we're good. Let's go.
32.
I
Okay.
said 23.
Okay.
I said 24.
27.
No one got it, but Alex was close. It is 34.
Ooh.
Holy moly.
34
Impressive.
boards in a game.
Damn, I'm sorry, Dennis.
It's like just an average Saturday for Will Chamberlain.
Actually, I read a crazy stat the other day. If you adjust for possession rate, Dennis Rodman out-rebounded Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah, I think we talked about that in an episode. If you adjusted for possession rate, like Russell and Wilt were like 12 a game.
Yeah, and then
they go way down.
Dennis Rodman was playing in that slow era,
Yeah.
and putting up like 16, 17 boards a game.
Mm.
All right, well, I can go next.
Alrighty.
All right. Rodman had 8 all-defensive teams, tied with several other players. How many of those all-defensive teams were first team?
You said he had how many total? I'm sorry.
8.
8 total, and how many were first team?
Right. How many of those 8 were first team?
Mm.
I have my answer.
I'm ready to.
Okay.
Willard.
All right.
I said 5.
Said 6.
How about 4?
3.
Actually, you guys are selling him short. 7.
Damn.
Oh,
7
wow.
of the 8.
I'll be damned.
Figured
I'm
it-
sorry, Dennis, again.
Wow, we're not getting a lot of questions right today, guys.
No.
Who's
Except
left?
Ray.
Me and Ray?
Yep. I'll go ahead.
Okay.
Ray's the only one that's got one?
Yeah.
He's the only
Oh.
got a point, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Kobe. I forgot about that. Okay.
All right. Here we go, guys. In the 1980s, the Los Angeles Lakers won 9 Pacific Division titles. Which team did they finish second to in the 1980-81 season?
Oh, yeah. Dad's writing it down right away. I'm still trying to think.
It's like deja
Nah.
vu.
But you really went, looked down right away and started writing.
It was good.
Well, I can vouch. His board's blank.
Yeah. I was thinking the other end of the decade.
So,
I thought I knew the
Oh,
other
man.
end.
You want to repeat?
yes, please.
Okay. In the
Wow.
1980s, the Los Angeles Lakers won 9 Pacific Division titles. Which team did they finish second to in the 1980-81 season?
You know the crappy part about this is I don't know which teams are in which divisions.
No, it's NBA. It doesn't matter. It's
Right.
I know the
divisions.
Pacific Division just because when I look up rankings for the Lakers, I see who else is
No,
in
I
there.
But were they different in the 80s?
I know.
I
I'm,
don't know.
I'm,
There was
I'm,
less teams in the 80s, so
I'm just guessing one I think was
Still
better.
have the same
I-
3 core.
yeah, I'm guessing because
Okay, I gotta
don't
guess.
know. I know what the West is.
Yep, I got one.
All right.
Is that everybody?
I think so.
All right.
Put the Suns.
I put the Clippers.
I also put the Clippers.
I put Portland.
All right. And the correct answer is the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
See, I just guessed the Clippers because I know they're probably in the same division because they're in the same city.
Because it's
Yeah,
the
they're in the same
Lakers,
building.
Clippers, Suns, Kings, and the
Warriors.
Warriors. There it is.
Mm.
And I was thinking Suns because I know the Suns had a really good team.
Well, I remember one of my trivia questions
Lakers
back
always
about
fought
them.
Portland too. So
Mm.
that might have
Alright.
been back when Alvin Adams was playing.
Interesting.
All right,
Who we got left?
me.
Okay.
There are 3 players who played in the playoffs this year, averaging double-digit assists for the playoffs. But one of them is averaging over 11. Who is it?
Are you talking about they're still playing or just everyone that's in the playoffs?
Everyone that was in the playoffs.
So
One person averaged 11 assists a game. Who was it?
The whole playoffs. Okay.
all right,
Ready?
I got mine.
Everybody ready?
Yep.
Yep.
Let's see it.
I said Harden.
Paul.
Westbrook.
Jokic.
The correct answer is Westbrook.
Yeah! yeah!
Alright.
The
He's
other-
coming back.
The other 2 double-digit guys are Luka and Dame.
Damn.
Oh,
Huh.
nice.
Ooh, I almost tried to write on the paper with my dry erase marker.
Don't call it a comeback.
Go Ray.
I'll be damned.
Didn't we just say last episode he hadn't scored in like 6 weeks and now he
Yeah.
got 2 points?
The last time he scored, he got 2 points.
He goes in
Dang.
spurts.
Yeah, now we got another 6-8 weeks without a point.
Yep, you're gonna call me Paul George by the end of the podcast.
Playoff. That's good. All right. And after this week's tallies, the scores are as follows. Ray with 15.
Woo!
Alex with 28. Doug with 29. Drew with 32. And Wade with 36. Had his lead cut into today by 1 point. So he is obviously now at 4. So Wade holds on to his lead in this week's trivia. And that will wrap up our episode. And please tune in next week for
Is it-
Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I believe it's Anthony
Yes.
Davis.
Yep.
For Anthony
It is.
Davis, who will be defended by Doug, Drew, and Wade.
I think so.
Yeah, I have him
Yep.
for sure.
Yeah, I have.
Me and the
Yeah.
Laker guys.
Yeah,
That's
you and the
right.
Laker guys will defend. Oh, a Laker. Yes, Anthony Davis. And tune in on Thursdays. Thanks again. Sports the Nemo way.